In this video, we are tracking a strong storm that will bring extreme winds, nocturnal tornadoes, and many other hazardous weather conditions to a large chunk of the U.S. The Storm Prediction Center has put out a very large moderate risk of severe weather for tomorrow, with the focus being widespread damaging winds and tornadoes. All that and more coming right up. Welcome back, y'all. Ryan Hall here with the weather forecast. We've been talking about this system for a while, and it's finally on our doorstep. And as I told you from the beginning, the closer we get to it, the more we're going to learn. What we're learning is quite concerning, so I have a lot of updates for you today. Please pay attention to this video if you live in the affected areas, and as always, please consider sharing this on social media, or just hit the like button, hit subscribe, do something to get us in the algorithm so that more people can get this vital information. And without further ado, let's start talking about the weather. All right, we got to start off talking about today, which is actually the day before the big day, but there's certainly a severe weather risk from Des Moines all the way down to Dallas today, and I actually think there's a little bit of a sneaky tornado threat here that a lot of people aren't talking about. First of all, if you're anywhere in the yellow area today, you got to be weather aware. Big hail, damaging winds, it's all going to be a problem. The tornado threat is actually quite subdued compared to last week or this upcoming system tomorrow. However, there's going to be a brief period where tornadoes are certainly possible. Switching over to the future radar here, once again, the time and date is always going to be above my head in Eastern time. This is a forecast model, so this isn't exactly what the radar is going to look like, but we're going to see those storms pop up around 9 p.m. tonight, maybe around 8 p.m. for some places. And when they first pop up, they are going to be isolated in nature, okay? From Wichita all the way down to Big Spring, Texas, I do expect that we're going to see some isolated storms pop up, and they may be supercells, and possibly even as far north as, Kansas City and up to Des Moines. We are going to see these little cells pop up, and let me tell you, I think that within the first couple of hours when these storms first pop up, I think that we actually have a decent tornado threat. If we switch over to the 850 millibar winds here, this is our lower level jet area. We're cranking up near 70 knots in a lot of places over here in Oklahoma, all the way up into eastern Kansas. Now, the problem is a lot of our convection, a lot of our storms is back here. Well, it's not really a problem. That's a good thing. But if you're a storm chaser or something and you're looking for a tornado, what has to happen is one of those discrete cells has to catch up with the lower level jet and kind of root up with it to produce a tornado, I believe. And I think that that is certainly possible, especially down here on the southern side of the storms, and even up here on the northern side. The further north that these storms actually get organized, the better chance that they're going to catch up with that lower level jet while they are discrete, okay? And if that happens, we are going to see a tornado, possibly even a pretty strong tornado that lasts a while, okay? So I want everybody to be weather aware tonight, starting around 8 p.m., going all the way through past midnight. In fact, if we get over here to about 2 a.m., you can see pretty clearly that everything is becoming linear. And at this point, it's no doubt that the storms are going to catch up with that lower level jet, and we're going to have all kinds of problems with embedded tornadoes inside the line. But once again, these are going to be hard to forecast. They're not going to be long lived. A lot of times these things spin up really fast and then they kind of go away. But it's still going to be causing problems from Kansas City down to Tulsa, Oklahoma City, even into Dallas as you get into the early morning hours tomorrow. Main threats here are absolutely going to be the hail and the damaging winds, okay? The tornado threat is minimal, but I want everybody to be prepared for all hazards, because these are the kind of events that a lot of times surprise us. And if I keep pushing this forward, we can go all the way out to 6 a.m. early tomorrow morning, and you can see that this massive storm is really starting to push that cold, drier air into the moist air there, and it is going to create a huge squall line. You can already see the formation of it over here in eastern Texas. Looks like Tyler, it might be to you around 7 or 8 a.m. Around Joplin, you guys are going to be feeling this early in the morning. And the further east that this goes, it is going to only pick up steam, and it's actually going to become a quite concerning situation for the Deep South. All right, now it's time we talk about the main event. This is going to be for tomorrow, Wednesday, March 30th, 2022. We have a huge moderate risk of severe weather down here. This does include Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Alexandria, Monroe. It includes Hattiesburg, Jackson, and Meridian, Mississippi, all the way up to Tupelo. And this does include Tuscaloosa, Alabama, okay, Demopolis. It does not include Birmingham or Huntsville or Montgomery, but I think that you guys should be just as concerned about this, and I'm explaining why right here in a minute. Here is the tornado threat, and look at this, guys, a big 15% risk area. That's rare, okay? Usually we don't see anything above a 10% on a given day. The 15% and higher are, once again, in the upper echelon of the tornado risks from the SPC. And then I don't know if you can see it very well, but there is another line here, this big yellow line that kind of encompasses everything. That is the significant line, or the hatched line, and everything inside of that, not only are we talking about a 10 to 15% probability of a tornado happening within 25 miles of a given point here, we're also talking about those tornadoes more than likely being strong tornadoes in excess of EF2. So once again, a concerning outlook from the Storm Prediction Center here. And even more concerning, we now have a 45% risk area for damaging winds down here. Once again, this includes Alexandria, Jackson, Mississippi, all the way over to Tuscaloosa and close to Birmingham. And then this black line here represents the hatched risk area, where we're not just talking about regular damaging winds. We are talking about winds in excess of hurricane force. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw wind gusts tomorrow in excess of 70, 80, possibly even 90 miles per hour, which is going to cause widespread wind damage that could actually, supersede or be worse than a tornado outbreak, because there's so much people, or there's so many areas that will be impacted, okay? Tornadoes are small compared to cities, but these big walls of wind, these QLCS squall lines, are very large, even in comparison to whole states. And the red area, the 30% risk, goes all the way up into southern Illinois, and we have to worry about the wind all the way up into potentially central Illinois and parts of Indiana as well. So this is going to be a widespread severe weather event. So let's talk about timing here. Once again, around 9 a.m., we're going to see this enter into portions of Arkansas. At this point, the winds aren't going to be as strong as what they will be once this becomes fully formed, but they're still going to be strong and producing severe weather conditions from St. Louis down to Little Rock, all the way down into Shreveport, Louisiana, okay? We're going to see isolated damaging winds down here, damage to roofs and mobile homes and trees and power lines. All of that's going to be possible during the overnight period into the early morning hours, and then right here around noon. Now, from noon to, let's say, 2 p.m. on, that's when things get serious. And in my opinion, there's going to be three areas of the line. We're going to divide this into three factions, okay? The northern part right here, this middle portion right here, and then the most southern part. These are the three areas that I'm most concerned about. As this line travels through these boxes, there's going to be a significant threat up here, first of all, of just your general severe thunderstorm damaging wind gusts. Okay, we're talking about 50, 60, possibly 70 mile an hour wind gusts anywhere from St. Louis all the way over to Lexington, Kentucky. We're going to see some intermittent power outages. We're going to see some damage, but hopefully, as of right now, it looks like it won't be this widespread derecho type thing. Now, down here in this second box, from Little Rock to Memphis, all the way over to Huntsville and Birmingham, and potentially maybe even as far east as into northern portions of Georgia and eastern portions of Tennessee. This is where I think we're going to see the most significant wind damage, with wind gusts above 70 miles an hour causing power outages throughout this area, causing a ton of tree damage, and then once again potentially even damage to homes as winds in excess of 80 mile an hour. That's the same thing as a weak tornado. And then down here on the southernmost side, that's kind of the area I'm most concerned with, because down here, not only are we going to have the damaging wind problem, like it's going to be there, but we also have the very real chance of some of these embedded supercells producing strong tornadoes that, even though they're technically within a line, they could still be long track and potentially violent. Okay, so everybody in this line that gets hit by this is going to have the chance of seeing a tornado, but the biggest chance, and the area I'm most concerned about, is going to be down here on the southern side. Look at this line by 4 p.m. tomorrow, guys. This is going to be causing all kinds of problems from Memphis down to Vicksburg. And then, of course, you can see these embedded supercells down here on the southern side. This is what I am really, really concerned about down here, with the potential for those embedded supercells and tornadoes. We can take this all the way out to about 8 p.m. and you can see that that line is now into the Alabama and Mississippi area, even up here into western and middle Tennessee. We're still seeing some of those effects, and then even into western Kentucky and portions of Indiana and Illinois, those winds are going to be felt up there. But once again, the most intense area of the winds are going to be right down here. I think Meridian, you are in for some of the strongest winds out of this. Tupelo, same for you, all the way over to Tuscaloosa. And then we're still worried from Hattiesburg down to New Orleans. We're worried about those embedded supercells with those tornadoes. And we can watch this progression all the way through midnight into 1 a.m. We're still going to be seeing the winds over here in Tennessee, but everything's going to be kind of focused down here now in Alabama. I want to emphasize that once again, the main threat with this is going to be the damaging winds. I really do think that this is going to end up being kind of overlooked because the tornado threat's not going to be talked about as much. But I'm telling you guys, this is going to be worse than a tornado situation if we actually see this QLCS line rake through these populated areas like I think it's going to. Because there's going to be a lot of people that are without power probably for a while after this happens. And because the wind field is going to be so big, everybody's going to feel it, okay? It's not like a tornado where only a small area is impacted. So as always, don't be scared, be prepared. We've seen this stuff before. If you're in Mississippi, Alabama, every spring we get some sort of big storm system, and this is just one of them, okay? Make sure your generator is gassed up. Make sure you've got your outdoor furniture, anything that could blow away, tied down or moved inside. And then of course, make sure you have a plan in place for if that tornado warning is issued, you know exactly what you're going to do. I would even take shelter in a severe thunderstorm warning tomorrow if I am in that middle box that I highlighted earlier. And of course, I will be going live tomorrow. It'll probably be an 8 to 12 hour event. I'll be live right here on the channel. So make sure you are subscribed with notifications on, and I will be live probably, I don't know what time yet, but I will announce that on the channel or on Twitter or something before tonight. Also, we can't forget that you need a good radar app during this. If you want to keep up with radar during this storm system, you want to make sure that it's accurate, that it's easy to use, and you want to make sure that it's customizable so that it makes sense to you. And that radar app is Radar Omega, guys, and they're the sponsor of today's video. Let's give them a shout out. Radar Omega, more than just a radar app. I've been using Radar Omega on my phone since way before they sponsored the channel, and let me tell you why. It's fast, smooth, and it always just works. It's the most customizable radar app that exists, and there's nothing even close. You can not only view radar, but also satellite and model data as well, and you can view those in 3D. Also, a network of live cameras across the US allow you to see what's really happening on the ground as that storm approaches your neighborhood. Check out the links in the description to figure out why tons of Ryan Hall Y'all subscribers are now using Radar Omega as their #1 trusted source of weather information on their phone. Now, let's get back into the video. All right, that brings us to day 3, Thursday, where we are talking about 2 separate slight risk areas for severe weather. This includes Greensboro, Richmond, all the way up to close to Philadelphia on the East Coast, in the Northeast, in the Mid-Atlantic area, and then also this includes areas south of Atlanta, all the way down to Apalachicola and near Jacksonville. Now, first of all, focusing on that southernmost risk area, I do believe that the main threat is going to be, once again, those straight line damaging winds for you guys, just like we're talking about to everybody to your west. However, there is a real sleeper threat for tornadoes on the main southern part of this line that I really think is not being talked about enough. I think that from Saraland, Mobile, Alabama to Pensacola, possibly even over as far as Panama City, I think that you guys have the real chance of seeing some of the more discrete and isolated supercells forming out here and then coming ashore. We could see another situation where we have water spouts forming and then coming ashore as tornadoes. Now, once again, this isn't a huge threat. I don't think that it's going to be this massive tornado outbreak, but I want you guys to be aware of this because I think the show stealer is going to be the damaging wind event. Down here on the southernmost side of this, the conditions are ripe for spinning storms, and I see a lot of individualized discrete supercells possibly causing problems along the I-10 corridor, once again, throughout this whole period from New Orleans and Baton Rouge all the way over to Panama City. And then everybody else up north of there to Macon and Atlanta, you guys are mainly worried about the straight line damaging winds, which thankfully, I do believe that the wind threat is going to be a little bit more subdued here versus what we're talking about in Alabama, okay? Because thankfully, a lot of that steam is lost overnight, and there's not a lot of time for it to reform over here before it exits the country. In the Mid-Atlantic region, we do have a slight risk of severe weather up here as well, but it doesn't kick in until later in the day. Switching over here to the Euro model, you can see what I'm talking about. As those storms are kind of exiting the U.S. and causing some heavy rain and some gusty winds in Florida, we're going to see some new storms pop up over here, possibly around Maryland, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. And these have the potential of being multicellular or supercellular in nature. So I think that not only do we have the straight line damaging wind threat up here, but also a real threat for potential tornadoes. Once again, it's going to be one of those deals where if the supercells are able to catch up with that lower level jet that is in excess of 70 knots there, we're absolutely going to see a very quick formation of a tornado or two somewhere up here in the Delmarva area and possibly as far north and east as into the Philadelphia area. So everybody over here needs to be weather aware tomorrow. And once again, that's mainly going to be happening between 7 p.m. and like 1 or 2 a.m. Between Thursday and Friday. Okay. And I'll have more on that tomorrow. Please watch the live stream. I'll do intermittent forecasts in between the severe thunderstorm warnings and stuff that we are relaying. A huge shout out to our members over here. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Once again, I am going live tomorrow. Please hit the subscription button and turn them notifications on. Follow me on Twitter, guys. It's the #1 place to get updates from me. And of course, keep an eye on shopryanhall.com. The merch is coming soon. You got to sign up now or you won't get that initial drop. I will see you tomorrow. Don't be scared, be prepared, and tune in to that live stream. Goodbye.